Hello friends, we're continuing our design tour of Italy with Sicis. If you haven't seen the first episode, be sure to check it out. And of course, have a look at our trip to the Iberian Peninsula from last year. But now, let's carry on exploring the Apennine Peninsula together. And we're in a town called Piazza Navona. It's a resort town on the Adriatic coast. It's a bit reminiscent of Rimini, but in reality it's much more compact and peaceful. It's less noisier, fewer bars, less rock and roll. And to be honest, I actually prefer this atmosphere. There are two places here that interest us. The first, Ghibli Hotel. This hotel opened in 2022 and became the first modern 4-star hotel here in Piazza Navona. The architect was Marco Lucci, and he created quite an elegant space in my opinion, because by and large nothing here is shouting for attention. But if you look closely at the details, you can see how well everything is made, how brilliantly the finishes and furnishes have been chosen. And there are a lot of designer pieces here. There are also Macintosh chairs and the famous Willow throne, which again was designed by Macintosh for the Willow Tea Rooms in Scotland. And here, even the light fixtures, though they don't seem to shout for attention, are actually design icons. This includes the Still Novo and the famous Paracilna floor lamp by Giuseppe Oregolo. All in all, there are a lot of elegant, really cool details. The Sicis panel is in fact one of these details as well. First of all, there's the now famous, one could even say iconic, Shades series. That is a series of images featuring sunglasses. And these are always different models. To be honest, I haven't seen a single one repeated yet. So it really is a work of art. You could say a painting brought to life through mosaic. At the same time, it's combined with the innovative material vitrite, which serves as the background and in fact forms the lenses of the sunglasses on the models. And of course, the same artistic canvases, the same artistic images. We see them in the reception area. Here we are, surrounded by swimmers, divers, performing various acrobatic stunts and diving into this turquoise. That is the Adriatic Sea, once again made from the vitrite material. Here, it's worth noting just how many shades the mosaic has, which allow for such precise, picturesque and, one might even say, at times, realistic depiction. These very images, once again, I can't help but draw a comparison with gastronomy, because by and large, both in fine cuisine and in fine mosaics, everyone starts with the same basic ingredients. In cuisine, it's what the sea and the land provide. In mosaics, the recipe has also been known for quite some time, and it's nothing fantastic at either. Just some basic ingredients. You take quartz sand, melt it down, and add minerals like seasonings, and you get various shades of colour. It's exactly the same in cuisine. In fine cuisine, the chef's true skill lies in carefully adding exactly the right amount of seasoning and following every step of the recipe with great precision. And ultimately, it all comes directly from the heart. That is precisely when these subtle nuances of flavour and colour begin to emerge, allowing for the creation of such incredibly picturesque canvases. By the way, speaking of cuisine, there's a second place here. It's the Gabbiano, a seaside restaurant. And there too, you'll find a similar artistic panel. Well, there, of course, you'll find a fantastic underwater world with all its inhabitants. It's also an artistic mosaic, carefully selected and arranged. These very shades make, in this case, you could even say, the picture look truly appetizing. And I became really curious as to why this blue, azure design, this underwater world panel, was paired with such ochre, brownish shades of vitrite. I thought about it, and then by chance I discovered the answer, me friends. It's the surf, the shoreline, and the gentle ripple of small pebbles, the very same pebbles that make up the local beach. This is that very specific zone of sediment, and these are the distinct shifting silhouettes of the waves that deposit this land. It really does look very charming. Another important point is that right now, at this very moment, it remains the only company in Italy that still produces its own mosaics. Right here, Unfortunately, all the others have already moved their production to some third countries. And perhaps it is precisely because all the expertise is concentrated here, right on the homeland of Ravenna mosaics, that their work turns out so picturesque, while others can only imitate and, unfortunately, can't truly replicate it. And this connection with time, with history, I think, plays a very important role here. And where did this connection come from? And how does history influence the development of contemporary art? We'll find out about the mosaics at the next location. So friends, we have now moved to the opposite coast to the Apennine Peninsula, to the Tyrrhenian Sea on the Tuscan shore. And here, in the little place called Venturina, there is a thermal resort known as Calidario Terme Etrusche. And as you might guess from the name, this thermal resort, these hot springs, have been known since Etruscan times. There are several of them here, and they're modern. The complex itself appeared here more than 50 years ago. At the beginning of the 2000s, it was renovated, and it was during this renovation that the team from Sicis took part. And since we're talking about historic thermal baths, where Roman legionaries used to relax after battles, the aesthetics also fit in. It matches accordingly. Marble mosaic has been used here. A marble mosaic in the typical shades of Italian marble. First and foremost, that's Botticino and Ulsan, Rosso Verona, and of course, Verde Alpi. And this combination of three very elegant colours gives us the feeling of truly ancient Etruscan baths. Naturally, to support this story of antiquity, ancient patterns and decorative elements are used. Well, first and foremost, there's the meander border. But still, the main quality of marble for me is that it ages exceptionally beautifully. Just look at what an elegant patina it develops. It has developed this over just a few years of use, and as a result, it only looks more authentic. Mosaic is used inside the thermal complex. It's also used in the pool for decorating various waterfalls with thermal water, and of course, it's also used in the Turkish bath and in the experience shower as well. Moreover, the format of this mosaic is different too. In some places, the pieces are larger, in others, they're smaller. Accordingly, where there are more curved surfaces, a smaller format is used, whereas on larger areas, a bigger format is used. And the layout is both traditional, the usual one, and the so-called herringbone pattern, which somewhat resembles parquet flooring. And of course, octagons with small insert. Overall, I must say, the atmosphere at this resort is very relaxing. You can take baths in thermal water, sit in the sauna, warm up in the Turkish bath, or get a refreshing sensation after heating up in the experience shower. And you can also relax in a special quiet room, gently swaying on a lounge swing. Various health drinks are also offered here, such as herbal infusions and teas, which of course adds a certain authenticity to the whole experience. In addition to all of those features, there is a charming little boutique hotel and a restaurant here, so you can come and stay for a few days or even longer, enjoying these healing waters and even the spectacular views across to Elba Island. And generally, it should be said that with such an ancient history of various thermal baths and resorts here, naturally, finishing materials were used there. First and foremost, marble's probably the oldest finishing material. For Italians, for Italy as the descendants of the Etruscans and Romans, a certain tradition of working with materials has developed, particularly with mosaics. Naturally, glass mosaic appeared much later than when these thermal baths were discovered, but still many centuries ago. Therefore, of course, having these traditions, having this code embedded in their DNA, Italians have developed a very refined sense of taste for all materials, and especially for mosaics. And perhaps that is precisely why everyone else, who does not have such a rich tradition, can only imitate, but will never be able to do it the same way. On our way south, we'll make a brief stop in the town of Viterbo, which is famous for its beautiful women and marvellous fountains. We'll leave the first point without comment. We have no reason to doubt the sources. As for the fountains, in their time, apart from being decorative, they also served as sources of water and helped to freshen the atmosphere in the cities. And of course, this is Viterbo. It's very difficult to make sense of the modern buildings because they're all so monotonous and dull. But there is one project here that deserves attention. It's the renovation of a standard building like this, with the cladding of the facades, giving it a fresher and more elegant appearance. And of course, the material Sicis was also used here. In this case, it's vitrite. It was used to decorate the central part of the building. In front of us is the canyon design, which here is done in a matte finish. And this decorative element is also illuminated. It's quite bright now, but when it gets dark, the lights come on and the building looks even more festive. And this detail also serves as a kind of navigational element. It should be said that now, here, they also proposed quite an interesting mounting system. That is, it's a floating system, because this is Lazarus and it's rather hot here. And of course, vitrite has a low coefficient of thermal expansion, but nevertheless, it is still present. And besides, in winter, the daily temperature fluctuations are also quite significant here, because there can even be frosts. Well, and during the day in winter, the air can warm up to 15 or even 20 degrees. And of course, vitrite is a wonderful material to use for outdoor applications. It doesn't fade, it's not afraid of humidity, it's not affected by precipitation, and it retains its aesthetic qualities indefinitely for a long time. It is also important to note that vitrite can be used not only as a decoration, but also as a structural element. That is, for example, it can be used as a railing for these balconies or stairs. It's bent to a certain size, and then the decoration of the facade can be made even more exquisite. They say all roads lead to Rome. And so, our road has brought us to Rome in our design tour with the company Sicis. It has brought us right to the centre, to Piazza Navona, directly opposite the Church of St. Agnes. In Agony, Baramini and Bernini's Fountain of the Four Rivers is the next project, the last one on our journey, which we will see. This is Lifestyle Suite, a project that was realised by the architect Giovanna Guarino. Giovanna Guarino is also the owner of this project, and this is a very important point because architects always choose the best balanced solutions in terms of aesthetics, quality and budget. It is a small hotel with only 13 rooms located in a 15th century palazzo. It has been carefully restored, and in turn the palazzo itself was built on the ruins, on the remains of an ancient stadium that once stood here. In fact, the square is called Navona, from the ancient word agon. Agon means competition, that is, 4 competitions. And some elements of that stadium actually serve as supporting structures for this building. Now, as for the design, here Giovanna worked very closely with the company Sicis. They were instrumental in bringing many creative concepts to life, specifically regarding the finishes and interior furnishings. The main value of this project, of course, is truly found within this rooftop bar, this cafe, which is located right on the roof with an absolutely stunning view, both over Piazza Navona and the whole of Rome. There is also a bar here. It is finished with vitrite material, both with and without backlighting. The Onigem collection is utilised throughout this space, which is Sicis' exquisite artistic interpretation of the natural onyx pattern, available in 2 distinct and vibrant shades, green and emerald. Also in bar, we see a mural by Jose Luis Messes, a student and no less than himself, Juan Amiro. And of course, the furniture here was also made specifically for this bar, with all the competencies that the company Sicis possesses. Well, now let's look at the numbers. So the junior suite is decorated quite elegantly. Here we see, well, naturally, a bed set against a backdrop of black polished boiserie. Moreover, this boiserie embraces the architectural elements of the building. The headboard is upholstered in grey velvet. The textile decor in general is quite restrained, with a few subtle accents. there are two oval-shaped bedside tables, and opposite there is a huge console finished with a mirror, and there are also two mirrored display cabinets on either side of the sofa, and of course a mirror above the sofa. In general, furniture started being decorated with mirrors around the 15th or 16th century. At that time, mirrors were extremely expensive, and it was considered a status symbol, a sign of luxury and wealth, and accordingly, the aristocrats simply didn't know what else to spend their money on. They bought themselves Venetian mirrors and then decided they needed mirrored furniture as well. They started decorating it, and later this trend became popular during the Art Deco period. And since this project was being carried out, at the end of the 2010s, when the Art Deco theme began to attract attention again, we can actually see this decorative solution here. By the way, the fronts of the vanity unit in the bathroom are also finished with mirrors. As for the bathroom, it is finished with traditional Italian Botticino marble, but the shower area is clad in Sicis mosaic from a custom mix, with the option of an antique edge to maintain a connection with the history of the place. Among these 13 rooms, there are several of an even higher category, but first and foremost, there is the presidential suite. And there are also two more suites. They have a slightly different finish. There, mosaic is used in places with a very interesting structure and a distinctive random pattern. And in a number of the different rooms, exquisite artistic mosaic tiling has been used, meticulously laid out in a beautiful peacock tail pattern. And of course, the material vitrite is also used in the presidential suite. Friends, I hope our journey through Italy has inspired you. If you haven't seen the first episode, be sure to watch it, because there were also many very interesting and striking projects there. Of course, I would highly recommend that you visit Italy, enjoy its incredible beauty, and take in the magnificent ancient monuments, the stunning medieval landmarks, and the many fascinating sites of modern history. You can immerse yourself in this history endlessly. And of course, I urge you to pay attention to the range of products on offer. I invite you to take a closer look at their unique philosophy, their truly amazing materials for finishing, and of course their wonderful interior collection. And of course, do remember that now it's not simply about standard solutions, but rather about bespoke solutions that are perfectly suited for you and your individual project. And I think that this definitely makes this company unique. If you enjoyed it, as always, please do give us a thumbs up, leave a lovely comment below, subscribe to our channel if you haven't already, and share this video with your friends. Let more people discover how beautiful the incredible material world around us can be, and how much more good there is in it than bad. That's all. Goodbye.